Hello, Facebook. I'm just going to check that you can actually hear me because I can't see on here. So let's have a look. Because I'm using a mic. It's all changed on Facebook. I don't know like where the comments are or anything. Give me a sec. Yes, I am live. And people can see me. Can you... Let's see. Let's have a look. Oh, you can hear me. Great. Brilliant. So hello, everybody. I've had a few weeks off from the whole visibility gateway successes and intensity. I've also got 3 kittens, which has kept me pretty busy and cuddly. So today I'd really like to dive a little bit deeper into the identities and the kind of characters we come across or become in the spiritual, healing, consciousness, holistic health realms. So I'm talking about coaches as well as chiropractors and acupuncturists and herbalists and energy workers, body workers, anyone in that kind of wellness, holistic health kind of pool of people. And what I have found is that there are quite interesting dynamics that you can see that there's people playing in certain ways and there's people showing up in different ways and there's people not showing up, not being visible, not being seen and heard. And I think I've found it's kind of going to be fun, I think, hopefully not offensive and maybe insightful into placing where you're falling short of living up to who you really want to be and the impact you can really create in the world. So this is really about your impact, contribution and creations in society, in our communities, and hopefully, help you move towards being able to be all you can be and to offer your gifts and your magic and your talent in the most healthful way for you, not to burn out, not to fade away, not to go against your own values and integrity. So just starting really is, becoming visible with your work as a healer, as a coach or whatever. It's not just about putting a pretty flyer out or even just doing videos. It's much deeper than that. Being visible with your work is multi-layered work. And I think I come from a quite unique or, different perspective in that I've been doing very deep energy work with kinesiology, with aura transformation. I've been doing, it's looking at the matrix of our consciousness and our energy fields and the timeline of our human history. So it's very deep, it's very effective way of looking at things. And I'm not looking at you being visible with your work as a healer as just doing a video or just doing flyers, because you've probably found that you've tried doing that and it doesn't always bring consistent results, or it doesn't always bring people aren't seeing what you're writing even though it's amazing, or you're not getting the clients signing up or coming into your practice. And you're like, well, I urge you not to give up, because I'm offering that there are ways of creating visibility and presence, even if it is through word of mouth. But if people aren't talking about what you do, then word of mouth is not working for you. If people aren't reading your posts, and posts aren't working for you. And if you come to video fearful, constricted and out of alignment, then people switch off. And there's many ways that happens energetically. So, someone might be watching your video and they can't concentrate on the words that you're saying. Like their mind flits, they start scrolling, they move on. Something's not landed. You might be an amazing master at whatever it is you do. You might have thousands of recommendations, but if people are switching off when they're listening to you, something is happening. And often it's not like your fault necessarily, but there are limiting beliefs or parts of you that are adamant that they must hide for your utmost safety, whether that's an ancestral persecution in a past life or something, whatever it might be, or it could be just being safe, to be visible, like something doesn't feel safe, or money is bad, so success is bad, so therefore you don't want people to come to the door. All of this can throw people, your listeners, off. So they're listening to you, their mind flits around. It's almost like your energy field is being very clever in carpet bombing their attention away from your words and your magic and your gifts and your talents. So it's very multi-layered. So it's not about just showing up on video, just doing, website, card. It's not just networking. It's much deeper than that. It's about, it's your whole energy. It's not just how you present yourself physically, but it's like, how does the clarity of your message, your energy, your heart, how does that come across? Can you see it when you watch people? Can you feel the pure integrity, the self-love, the flow of wisdom and truth come from them? Or is there so much stuff in the way that you're struggling to hear and see, or maybe mistrust who's standing in front of you? And this is often innocent and not happening to you because you don't want to be seen. Like, part of you really wants to be seen, but there are layers and layers and layers, certainly for the healers and the coaches and the spiritual entrepreneurs and the chiropractors and the acupuncturists, blah, 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 that I've kind of named some characters that we see that are playing different, are in different scenarios on their healing journey that is stopping them from being heard and seen or visible with their work. So yeah, it's about your whole energy. It's about the container you create and how you came to create it. Are you teaching or sharing something that actually you overcame and know inside and out how to deal with because you've done it on a personal level? Are you sharing, have you tried and failed and tried and failed and then overcome the thing that you're teaching? It's like, how deep is the energetic matrix of the container that you're offering in the world, whether it's one-to-ones or workshops or group things, how robust and resilient and how robust and resilient is that container? Because I know with all the work I've done, and all the ups and downs and all the business highs and lows and all that kind of thing, I know that I've kind of turned over all the the stones, and things have worked and not worked. But that experience and me building that muscle, that up and down, that remembering and overcoming and learning the craft, has all come together at a final stage where people just feel it. They just know that when they walk into my container, stuff is starting to happen. Shifts are starting to happen before we even start the work. So that tells me that I've built something that is, a field of consciousness, a field of, it's like creating a gateway, a portal, a field where people walk into it, and the stuff that you have overcome and created is already impacting them and their structures. It's calling people to rise to that level of integrity or authenticity. So it's not just the flyers and the videos, it's your whole energy. It's the container that you're building and you've created over time, all your life experiences coming together into something really robust. But it's also about you creating a space in the collective consciousness, in your environment, in your communities. It's like carving out a space where you can be heard and seen. So there's many layers to being visible and being successful, whatever that means to you. But if you love what you do, but you're not able to do it as much as you like because you're not seen, or people aren't hearing it, or people aren't getting it, then there's some tweaking to do. And it's not impossible because I've done a lot of it, and I can share with you what I've learned. And I've learned from people that have done a lot of it and shared shared with me. And it comes together as like a very solid offering that can help healers, coaches, entrepreneurs really overcome all these blocks on different levels, personal, the work itself, and how like creating a kind of like a highway for your words, your message, your integrity and authenticity to actually land with the people that you're trying to reach. So yeah, I'm looking at it from very, you know, deeply energetic, layered way of looking at things. So it's, you know, really about being able to find your truth, find your voice, and to really become love, become your truth, really become clear, be able to be sincere and confident and humble about what you can offer. And the more you can get into that space, a simple space of just being yourself, just being comfortable being yourself, loving yourself so deeply that there isn't like a, oh, I don't want to be seen, how do I look, all that kind of thing. It doesn't matter how you look. I mean, obviously presenting yourself nicely is helpful in business because people go like, oh, she's well presented, I can trust this person. But it's not about this. It's about the transmission, the words, where they're coming from, the experience behind it. So yeah, I've kind of mapped out some types of healers and coaches that I've encountered, that I have been at different points. And so the first one is the easy one. It's the spiritual fairy, you know, love and light and unicorns, and just like, yeah, it's just all about love. And it's kind of, there's a lot to say about those, but it's really about helping the ones that are all so high up in, whether they're looking into the interdimensional realms and the planets all the time, it's like getting them to land and to start building the earthly structures and foundations to a business. For example, for them, that is so important. It's like, okay, I know it's all lovely and everything, but sometimes business stuff is a bit boring, and sometimes you have to learn something new, and you have to put structures and foundations in place. There are others that really don't like structures and foundations. It's like the wild cat that can't settle, you know, like I'm wild, and like I'm a free spirit, that kind of thing. They also don't want to be pinned down to kind of the earthly stuff. The earth stuff is boring, it's heavy, it's like, oh God, you know, it's a responsibility. And it's like very, you know, it's quite interesting to watch as you call them forward and go like, look, you have an offering, you have modalities, you have gifts. You're not going to be able to get them out there consistently and have the impact that you want on the world and the change in the world that you want to see if you don't have foundations and structures and do some of the stuff that is seen as boring and not very exciting. But the part that really helps those kinds of people is to realize that pulling down into your body and into the earth and starting to create foundations in that way is actually a whole other dimension of magic. So there's a lot of magic up there, like dimensional traveling and visioning and all that is very magical, but there's so much magic down here too. And the magic that is created and the kind of, what's the word? The pride in yourself of like, wow, you know, like the shivers that you get in your body for creating life-changing opportunities for others. That is life affirming. That makes everything make sense. And that brings your magic, your out there spiritual fairy magic into the real world. And also it can feed you and it can create a whole new life structure for you and your family. So people like that don't want to be pinned down, don't want the structure, that want to be free, all of that, actually there's so much freedom to be found when you can live a kind of abundant life, you know, where you can support yourself. It's riches that are, you know, far more than monetary. It's enriching your life and life of others. There's also another type is the over processors, the ones that are constantly in the shadows and in the process and in emotions and clearing, constantly clearing. I did this for years, and I get excited by it. I love it. I help people do it every day. But it doesn't necessarily help you run a business if you're constantly doing that, constantly finding a layer that needs fixing. Oh, I'm not perfect. I will be perfect once I've processed all this stuff. Okay, but you're perfect now. And so really, these ones, it's about saying enough is enough. I know my craft. I know that I know how to process. So when something arises, I'll process it. I'm not going to go find things to process, because that could go on forever. We are so infinite as beings, and in an infinite world of things going on, and so much trauma and so much negativity, and there's so much happening that we could be processing forever. So there comes a point, it might not be immediate, but if you affirm, okay, I've processed and suffered enough, and every time I process, I'm actually touching into my grief and my suffering even more. I'm not saying ignore the really big stuff you need to do. And if you have never done any emotional processing, then it's really useful to start. But you know who you are when you know that you're doing it all the time. And there's a kind of a sense that, I'm not sure where they actually fall, but the follow your bliss people. So when you want to run a business and you've been following your pleasure, your desire, or the uncomfortable sensations that arise when you are an emotional person that has a lot of empathy, that has a lot of feeling, oftentimes when you do new things that feel uncomfortable, it feels like you need to process it, or that it's not blissful, so therefore you shouldn't put energy into it. So again, like the spiritual people that are way too high up and not got the foundations, the over processors that go down into the shadows and dive forever and hopefully not, drown in the darkness down there. It's the similar thing. It's about building a foundation and a structure that supports you. And that isn't always exciting, blissful, or comfortable. So there's an element of having to sometimes knuckle down. And I always say, actually, that a lot of business, once you know it, like, okay, oh my God, I'm terrible at technology. I hate technology. It makes me uncomfortable. Like, once you know how to do it, like, you've all learned how to use a phone, and you didn't, when the first phones came out, no one knew how to use them properly, but you learn, and now it's like automatic pilot. It's the same as driving. Running a business often is similar to that. There's a bit of automatic pilot, but it just takes a bit of like uncomfortableness and a bit of grit to actually build the structures and the foundations you need to find your personal freedom. So there's those, but then a similar-ish vibe is the hyper-vigilant people. Often they are very kind of the wounded healer, the wounded individual that's been had a difficult start in life, or encountered difficulties where they've been, beaten into submission, ignored, not heard, not seen, have worth issues, like I'm not worth it. But on the same time, if they're in the healing professions, or learn a modality, or have an offering or a gift, these are amazing people that have overcome humongous suffering, but there's some layers that are not allowing them to be seen and heard because they're not worthy. So the hypervigilance bit comes in when it's similar to the over processors as well, constantly feeling everything going on around, meeting someone, reading their energy. It almost builds up a lot of anxiety, because actually that person is afraid of the environment and the triggers and the reactions of others for very good reason, but it's maybe not useful anymore in a business context where you want to get your voice and your message out there. So this hypervigilance is exhausting. And it kind of creates procrastination in a way, because it's constantly blocking your actions going forward. You're like, oh, what will they think? Am I good enough? No one's going to listen to me. So all that internal process, it's like pulling a lot of the creative life force energy that you have for your gifts and talents and your offerings. It's like pulling, it's trying to come out as a creation, but it's getting sucked right back into the underworld, into the subconscious, into the pain body, into the wounding that happened. So it's like this constant drain on your creative life force. So with the hyper-vigilant, exhausted people that like are very empathic, can't say it today, over empathic, that they're feeling everything of everyone all the time. There's some boundaries that need to be built, some resilience about knowing when to turn that on and off, when it's appropriate and when it's not. But also it's like building this massive core foundation, again, foundation and structure about your personality and how you are in the world. That it's like reparenting, it's like the inner child work. It's building a supremely strong foundational core sense of self and belief. Often people that have had really difficult childhoods and not been seen or heard or ignored or abused, they don't have a sense of self. Their needs or their sense of self was never validated, so they don't know what it really is. So there's some work around that to do. So it's a different kind of having to build your business structures and foundations and building that muscle, but this is like a core inner muscle that needs to be built, and to lift yourself up, to allow yourself to become the parent that you didn't maybe have, that you needed. So in this sense, it's about coming back to the love of the self, and really working from there. So being a healer and a coach, all these, people in the wellness industries, they've traveled and overcome so much in themselves. And this is the visibility gateway that I offer, is like helping all these characters come into alignment with a strong sense of self, but with the structures that support it, so that you can be visible in a consistent and clear way, with a very robust container that supports your work-life balance, your family life, your freedom. So it's not like traditional marketing courses, traditional modern day marketing courses, where, there's this like a system. You're going to learn a system and it's like this and it's going to work for all of you. And it's very dry and masculine, if you want to call it that. It's doesn't respect your particular life force, your particular gift or message, or support how you want to live your life. So if it can override a lot of your boundaries, a lot of the marketing courses, a lot of the balance you're trying to achieve in between all the balls in your life, your family, your partners, your creativity, your self-care, and your clients and your work. How can you create a system and a foundation and a structure that fits exactly what you need, but that brings you the consistency, the results for others, that light you up? So when I'm doing the visibility gateway, there isn't a cookie cutter structure. You are all going to explore individually what matters to you and how you can think outside the box about how you're going to offer that. So there's also some other ones that I wrote down. There's the ones that, there's the angry armchair warrior, and that's getting sucked into the world of the dark side of the world of what's going on, what's really true, what's not true. We don't know. We just don't know. And I mean, the thing is like, all that energy that you're creating around being angry with how things are. I'm angry. I'm not impressed with what's happening. I'm fully aware that there are many agendas and we don't know what's true and what's not true. But if I sat there all day long worrying about it and getting angry about it and not doing anything about it, then, what is my life force for? So there's something to say about the angry armchair warriors. If you're a warrior and you are, and you're a beacon of light to others, and you have passion and a sense of justice, there's something you could be offering in the world, using that energy to actually create an impact, start creating the new world that we want to live in, no matter how small the action is. So there's something there for those ones. And then there's something that came up in round 2 of the visibility gateway was the angry shaman, And it took a while to figure out what it was all about. I was like, the angry shaman. And the healers and the coaches, well, they're not coaches, but let's just call them the medicine people, the healers, the shamans of our ancient cultures. They were always looked after. And asking for money, if you have that kind of lineage or that remembering of you as a medicine man or woman, and you contributing to your community for the wellness of the community, of the body, of sexuality, of relationships, of the family, whatever your role was, of being able to communicate with spirit and through to hear or listen to the earth and out, you didn't have to ask for money. And your security was guaranteed. So it's like a very weird place to be. We found in the kinesiology sessions, we found that a lot of the healer types were struggling to not only have money, to receive money, to ask for money. And there was something there about being angry shaman, like, I am pissed off that I need to ask for money. This is wrong. And we did a lot of work to like kind of bring those ancient voices that live in ourselves into the present and bring them to the world we're in now and be like, look, okay, you know, that was happening. There's been tremendous change, tremendous trauma to our old ways of living and serving. And we are now in this system. So if you have the energy to change the financial systems, fantastic. If you don't, then start creating the impact in the way you can and living a life that you know, that guarantees your survival and maybe much more. And so we actually managed to kind of change the conversation with this angry shaman out into the world of you know, that there is this sacred selling, that there is huge value and worth in what we're offering in the world, and it is safe and appropriate to be remunerated so that we are relaxed enough to be able to serve in this way. I've been doing this like 8-9 years or something, and I am listening to people's pain and uncovering deep seated traumas. And I'm not the only one. I'm saying anyone that's sort of in this field and does it really masterfully, we are listening to the struggle and the pain and the constrictions and unlocking them and dissolving them every day, hours a day. We need to be comfortable and safe and secure enough to be able to hold space for those that don't have the tools yet. So the whole selling and money piece is huge for healers, and it's often like just rewiring our beliefs around money and how we become comfortable in our communities. So there's so much I also put just one more. There's the lost voice, the voiceless, and I think that kind of ties into the hyper vigilant wounded children piece, but there is definitely something about not having a voice, not being heard in our societies and in our cultures. So it's another layer to like how to be visible, is being able to connect to your voice and the transmission into the world, because we've been stopped so many times. It's not safe to speak, you know, just disagreeing with a common narrative these days is actually becoming more dangerous than it was a few months ago. And I didn't expect that to happen. I thought we'd done all that and it was now safe to be who we are, but maybe not. The war goes on. But yeah, so there's ways of creating safety in our bodies to have the confidence to speak about what we know. And also there are ways now with social media where you can create groups where it's safe for you to speak. You don't have to just, you know, be public and just say what you believe to everybody. You can create safety, you can create containers, and you can create a work-life scenario that works for you. So I've talked a lot longer than I expected, but what I'm saying and why I call this becoming the spiritual adult is that, you know, we've been the wild spiritual fairies. We've been up in the dimensions. We've explored in the underworld. We've done all this stuff. And now is the time to start building the foundations and the structures to make the impact and to put our creations and containers out into the world and contribute, you know, contribute to making this place a bit better. And I think this is the time now. We've had our fun. We've had our hedonism. We've had our multidimensional tripping. You've done your whatever journeys you have done. Now is the time to sit down, do a bit of the grit, and actually make it work. And the 5-week visibility gateway course is intense, powerful, deep, multi-layered, and it's covering all of the things I've mentioned plus more. Yes, there's an element of, let's get comfortable being visible on camera and supporting each other. There's a beautiful amount of support that is created and feedback about how you look, how you sound, what you say, that people of like mind in a safe place are saying, like, I would have wanted more of this, but I love this part. You brought tears to my eyes when this happened. And you get the validation that you maybe never have received. And you will hear that the people that want to hear you love hearing you. And the transformation that has been happening like so quickly in the visibility gateway from week 1 to 3, like people's eyes are shining, the love is beaming out of their eyes, the sincerity is like coming through their words. They're finding kind of their true self space to speak from, rather than the wounded, scared, terrified place. So it's big, but it's 5 weeks, and it's intense, but it's structured in a way that it just rolls. You get used to the rhythm. You're going to come out the end confident on camera. An idea of like how the blueprint of your business looks, and that it's in alignment with you and your dreams and how you want to live. You're going to be you will have cleared lots of money blocks, selling blocks. You will have integrated like the powerful warrior and healer and the inner child and your mission and your words. And then as well, there's like magical marketing, making sure that everything you say and do is visible in the world, that people will see it, sense it, hear it. And really look at the foundations and structures of what your business really looks like. What do you need to do to make it actually happen? So it's powerful. It's amazing. You get some content, like this is what we're learning this week. You get some tasks that are mostly done for yourself, like exploration about all these wants, fears, needs, structures. And then there's a group call, which is about an hour a week, where you can ask me anything and we just talk about all the ideas. So you're learning from each other and all your highs and lows. And then there's a 2-hour kinesiology session, which is amazing. Leap kinesiology session. And this is a group kinesiology, which means that you are the power of a group lifting the energy off a pattern that you share is huge, compared to like me and you just trying to like bust some, move some energy around something. This is like 12 to 14 people going like on an issue, and everyone has said how powerful and like like life-changing just that bit is, and then you get all the rest with it too. And then you do a little video, about 6-minute video on the weekend, just before the weekend. And then I do really personal feedback on each one of your videos, and then everyone else is feedbacking on your videos. It sounds like a lot, but it actually just rolls quite well. Some people have had full-time jobs and done it. So it is very much doable, and you do get replays and all that kind of thing. I really look forward to hearing from you. We start on the 18th of August, and if this video is old, there are going to be other rounds at different points, but this round 3 I can feel is going to be even more powerful than round 1 and 2, and I'm excited by it. It's deepening. It feels like a very strong, powerful container. And if you want to be more visible with your work and you don't understand why you're not, or you want to just become more of the spiritual adult that we need today, then get in touch, and I look forward to hearing from you.